The new Huawei 50 series and Honor 50 with Chinese ROM still don't have Google services. They say no Google, no problem, but can you live without Google services? And are these phones worth it? Okay, as we all know, US banned Huawei from having Google services on their phones because of the 5G turf. In terms of hardware, the specs is great. The camera, the screen, we don't have any problems with it. But in terms of operating system and ecosystem, are these phones worth it? Given there's a lot of Huawei and Honor phones already has Harmony OS 2.0 on their phone with app gallery, but there's still some newer phones like Huawei P50 Pro that's still running on EMUI 12 based from Android 11. So today we'll talk about the good, the bad, and the alternative, and the life without Google services. Let's go to work. Let's start with a good thing. I get less and less of notification when I'm using a phone without Google services. I remember this past few weeks I only received phone calls, text, a little bit of advertisement in AliExpress, and my Facebook account. I get a little decluttered around this whole mobile world. I don't have any YouTube, Google, or Gmail notification, and like Google Chrome doesn't send me anything like an alert from a specific website. It's literally a peaceful life using this phone. Another good thing is most apps can be installed on this phone using App Gallery and Petal Search. Those applications that doesn't need Google services like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also a lot of games. And I should say those are pretty optimized using Huawei and Honor phones. The third reason is a little sketchy and political. If you feel like Google is spying on you, then this phone doesn't have Google services. You don't have Google search or the microphone is always on because it's listening to music. You don't have this on Huawei and Honor phones. Sure, someone would say that the Chinese government is spying on you, but that's another day for debate. But if you don't like Google to get all your information, this is one good alternative. And the last good thing is removing yourself from Google dependency and stop Google from monopolizing everything. You know, what if one day Google got hacked? You still have something to work on because you are not using Google services. Your information and contacts are not compromised because you're not using a Google account. Now let's talk about the bad. The first thing is there's no Google apps running on this phone, obviously, because there's no Google services. You will miss all the functionality of a regular or native Google apps or apps that uses Google services. You can always use the browser version of an app, but certain functionality will not work, and you have to rely on the security of the browser, so it's not really good. The one category that I'm really worried about this phone is the banking applications. I'm really worried about using a browser. I'm not really confident using it. Unlike when you have Google Play Store, you can simply download the banking app on your phone, and it will work seamlessly on your Android phone. The other thing is the account syncing, because you can't use Google services, so you can't sync your contacts, your calendars, your Gmail account, and all that stuff, your notes. So it's problematic if you've used Android phone from before. The problem there is you have to transfer it one by one again on your new Huawei phone, and that will be time consuming. The other thing is if the application or the app isn't in the app gallery and you have to download it on a third party like Aptoid or APK Pure, there's no Play Store security, so you're kind of banking that that application is not altered at anyway. So it's really hard to trust downloading and installing APK files on a Huawei phone. And the last thing is the price is still a little high. Considering that there's no Google services, we'd think that, maybe Huawei will drop the price. But the price is still high, and, it feels like it's the same price as what we have from before when they have Google services. So something to think about, there's a lot of Android phones there that offers Google services and has the same specs or same quality as this phone. And because Google services are not installed on this phone, my question is it worth it of what it can offer? Let's talk about alternative, and the first alternative for Google Apps is substitution. You can use Petal Mail in replacement of Gmail, Petal Maps in replacement of Google Maps, and AliExpress in replacement of Amazon. The only problem with those apps is familiarity because it's a little bit different than the one that you're accustomed to. And the functionality is different. Let's say Waze versus Google Maps. For Google Maps, if you go to a fork, it would tell you that there's like 3 lanes and you go to like the farther left. In Waze, you don't have it. You just say go left. Okay. There will be a learning curve using those third-party apps. The second alternative is using a browser version of an app, but it's the same thing. It would lose some of the functionality that you have. A lot of apps have security features like fingerprints or the navigation using swipe gestures. Browser versions don't have it. So you are left with like a stripped version of what an app can offer. And the third alternative is using GSPACE or dual space. This actually tricks the system that you're using an older version of a Huawei or Honor phone and you can install Google apps. So to make a quality video like this, I actually purchased GSPACE, which is like $30, and I have the paid version of this app. The problem with GSPACE is the advertisement, but if you buy the paid app, it takes a second to open or load an app. If you click an app, it will take a second to open it, but for the second and succeeding tries, it will be seamless and quick. Everything else works, but because it's tricking the system that you're using an older phone, the problem of security if I install a banking app, I'm not really confident. I read the privacy statement of GSPACE and it's pretty secure, but anything can still happen and I'm not confident using it. So what is Gadget RevNow's verdict? Phones without Google services, is it worth it? I think even without Google services, Huawei and Honor phones are still great. Since it's using Android fork, you can still install and trick the system to get Google apps if you need to. If you buy this phone, it's better to move on and use what App Gallery can natively offer you. This is a fresh start and maybe going towards using Harmony OS more and more. It's like an introduction to an ecosystem outside Google. Now on the flip side of the coin, if you're heavily invested on Google and Android ecosystem, this is one confusing and frustrating phone. You're banking on alternatives such as substitution or GSPACE, which is being offered natively on App Gallery, but these are workarounds and only time can tell if these will stop working. At the end of the day, it's your choice to make. There's no right or wrong, but you have to live with the consequences. Everything boils down to your preference. No Google phones are frustrating, but at the same time, if you're up for a revamp, it's liberating. And there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next one.